One thing that we hear from a lot of seniors is that they went to the doctor and they just felt it was not a satisfactory experience. The doctor rushed them. They didn't get to say everything they needed to say. He didn't write it down. How am I going to remember? I don't like what he told me. Well, it goes on and on. So the question really is, how do you make your short time with the doctor effective? Well, if you want to know more about this, just stay tuned. Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Scan FYI. My guest today is Melisa Damcevska. She's from Braven Health. Good morning, Melisa.
Good morning, Andrea.
So, before we get into our topic, in case someone is not familiar with you and hasn't seen you before, although I hope you have, Melisa, just introduce yourself briefly.
Sure. So I am a health educator with the community outreach team over at Braven Health. We support different community outreach events, and I myself focus on health and wellness topics for our older adults. So partnering with our community partners to talk about any topic relevant to the health of older adults. So fall prevention, brain games, eating healthy, oral health, just to make sure that people are knowledgeable and educated on these topics.
Okay. I think this topic today about having an effective doctor's visit, it's for people of all ages, definitely.
Absolutely.
And so there are definitely this is something we do hear a lot. And I know there are things that you need to do or not do. So let's get the ball rolling. What's the first thing we want people to know?
Well, we want people to know when you're scheduling this doctor appointment what you're going in for. Are you going in for something that's just your annual physical? Are you going in for something that you're having symptoms for and you need your doctor to take a look at? Are you going in for maybe an emergency type visit, or if you need any type of immediate attention, something like an urgent care? That's
Right.
really going to define how you prepare for that appointment, for what kind of appointment you're going in for.
So a clear goal. That seems like an obvious thing, but maybe to some people it's not obvious. You need why are you going to the doctor? There is a reason.
Exactly. And it's so obvious sometimes that we feel like we don't need to prepare for it, but
And
we
yet we
really do.
do. Right, right. So how are we preparing?
So we want to make sure that we have a list of medications. That's really the number one thing we want to make sure we have prepared. If we're taking any medications, make sure you have the name of it, the list, the dosage, especially if you're seeing multiple different types of doctors.
Right.
Say you have something prescribed by your primary care, and you have something else prescribed from a cardiologist, and you have something else prescribed by an endocrinologist. You want to make sure that everyone's aware of everything that you're on. That goes for your over-the-counter supplements and vitamins as well. People forget that. People forget, like,
People,
oh, it's
they
over-the-counter,
definitely
it's a
forget that.
vitamin. Yep.
That's true. So whether you write it down or I know some people say, well, they take a picture on their phone, however you want to do it, but that's like number one absolute. So we have our list.
And you also want to have a list of questions. If anything that you're going in for, if there's something that's bothering you, if there's something you're concerned about, you really want to make sure you have a list of questions beforehand. Because as we know, many of us who've been to the doctor, which is all of us, you get what, maybe 10, 15 minutes with the doctor? So as being as prepared as possible with any list of questions and concerns that you have.
Because I always feel if you didn't write it down and you're in the heat of the moment and you're rushing, he's rushing, she's rushing, you're going to forget. And then you're going to get home and say, "Oh, I should have done this." But yeah, I think writing it down and I want to say not writing down 10 questions because you're never going to get through that. Maybe the top 3 things on your mind, the top 5 things.
Absolutely, because how many of us walk out of that doctor's appointment and forget something important that we really meant to ask for when we were there? So I'm jotting down the top 3 or 5 things that you need to talk to that doctor about.
Because by the time you're walking out and the doctor's walking out, and then all of a sudden the light bulb goes off, you know what? I feel like then it's too late. The doctor's already on to the next patient. So, yeah.
Exactly.
All right. And what other things do we need to think about
We
in
can
that
think
moment?
about, yeah, I mean, in that moment, we really want to make sure we're being honest with our doctors. If you're not being honest with your doctor about what's bothering you or what could be going on, I always tell people your doctor has heard it all. and your doctor is there to help you. So
Yeah.
if there's something you're too ashamed or too nervous or too embarrassed to mention to your doctor, they can't help you if they don't know what's going on.
You know what else to be honest about is that if the doctor tells you that this is going to be the treatment that's in order, or this is what I have in mind, and if you already know, I'm not going to do that, you need to say that right then and there
Mhm.
because that'll help the doctor figure out plan B. Once you
Exactly.
walk out, right, the doctor figures you're going to do what they prescribed.
Exactly.
So,
And then you're coming back for your next visit, and then you haven't done what the doctor has asked you to do, and maybe
yeah.
your treatment plan, or you really haven't gotten better.
Yeah, honesty is a big one. I mean, you're right. Of course, they've heard it all, but maybe they haven't heard it all from you. So, this is not a time to be shy. All right. And what about the idea of having someone with you?
Yeah, so
What's your thought about that?
this is something that you might choose to do if you want to bring either a spouse, a friend, a friend, someone to come with you that can help you either take the notes, that can help listen. I've done this before with my own parents, honestly. I've walked into the doctor's appointment and we hear things differently. Two people in the same room could hear something entirely different. So, and also having a support system if you're having, if it might, maybe you're anxious about the appointment, having somebody there who could be a support system could help too.
And I feel like a lot of times if you are by yourself and maybe you're getting good news or bad news or whatever it is, but honestly, you can be so keyed up in the moment by the time you get to your car, it or you don't even remember what went on in the doctor's office. I really feel it's such an important thing that to have somebody with you to be that second set of eyes and ears, and maybe they're holding your notes and asking the questions for you because you might just not have the wherewithal in the moment to do that.
Absolutely.
And I think important too, Melissa, I said this to you earlier. If you're someone who goes to the doctor and the doctor, of course, what is he going to say? Or she, how are you? They don't want to hear about your grandchildren. They don't want to hear about your trip, your vacation, your retirement, because you're on their dime now and you're wasting your time. And as you said, what do you get? 10, 15 minutes on a good day?
Yeah, we
So
really want to make sure we're as prepared as possible. Yeah, Andrea, just as you were saying.
don't fill it up with idle gossip. And what about what's your thought about asking questions? Some people feel intimidated about asking the doctor anything.
Yes, and it's really, we see this a lot in especially our older adults where you might not want to question the doctor. The doctor
Right.
kind of went to school, they know what they're talking about, but it's your health. I always say it's your health, it's your life, it's your well-being. You're the one that's going to have to follow that treatment plan or that care plan. So really making sure that one, you understand what the doctor is telling you, and two, that if there's any questions, concerns, you don't understand something, really make sure you're asking that question.
And I think this is the thing about being honest with the doctor as well. When they give you instructions and like you're afraid to ask or you're not being honest about having a question or you don't understand, don't wait till you're back in the car. It's honestly it's too late at that point. And what about do doctors still ever write things down or does anybody write anything down anymore? I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like especially nowadays when you go to the doctor, everything, the doctor's on a laptop or a computer, they're jotting their notes down virtually, they're on your portal. So that's actually, it can be helpful if your doctor does do that because what your doctor can actually give you those notes, that after visit summary, you can go back in and read what the doctor wrote about your visit. So if there's any questions, it's just another log. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, it's usually documented right there.
And I feel like this is yet another reason to have someone with you because then they could be writing it down. So
Of
you don't have
course.
to worry about it. And, asking, do you need to see me again? All the questions that in the heat of the moment we typically forget. Your time is valuable and so is the doctor's. And I don't like to see people wasting their time or not being prepared.
Absolutely.
And if they prescribe you something and you want to know more about that, also don't be afraid to ask about the medication, right?
Absolutely. Especially if it's some new medication you're taking, we want to make sure we're asking about side effects. we want to make sure we're asking how often do you have to take it? When do you have to take it? Do you have to take it with food? Do you take it in the morning or at night? So there's so many questions around our medications as well. We want to make sure we're taking them properly.
And again, if you're prescribed something and you know you're not going to take it because you're not happy with the side effects, that's the time you need to speak up, because there might be another medication that has minimal side effects or no side effects, but you're not going to know if you don't ask.
Absolutely. Same thing goes when we're talking about brand and generic drugs. If you want to ask if there's a generic option available, that tends to be a little more affordable. So all these questions to keep in mind at your doctor's visits are really important.
Your doctor's visits are important, and I feel like it's our job, really, not the doctor's, but our job to, make it an effective visit by doing all of these things that Melissa has mentioned today. Very important. Any kind of last thoughts on what else we might want to say to our doctor, or, for us to help us in preparation?
Yeah, Andrea, I think making that list of questions is really important, making sure that you're prepared before you even walk into that doctor appointment. That's going to allow you to use that time most effectively. So we're not leaving that appointment 15 minutes later feeling like we didn't even address what we went in for. So that list of questions is really important, and that list of medicines, including any vitamins or supplements you take.
Yeah, I do think a lot of people don't think about the over-the-counter medications, but yes, absolutely. Anything that goes in you or on you counts, right?
Yes.
And it has to be added onto your list. And I do love the idea about bringing somebody with you, because if you get bad news or even if it's good news, sometimes you're just so overwhelmed by the information that you don't hear anything else. And that's why
Absolutely.
that other person is there for you. And maybe you need someone to be your advocate. So it's important. And if you're listening to this and you know of a person who might need you to be their advocate, maybe as a good friend, volunteer to go to the doctor with them to help them out. I think that would be really a wonderful thing to do for someone. So the next time you go to the doctor, you have a whole list of things you need to take care of. You write it down and you be ready. Okay. Melissa, thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
Melissa Damcevska from Braven Health, always a pleasure to talk to you. Remember, if it's important to you, it's important to us. I'm Andrea Tarr. We'll see you next time on Scan FYI. Bye, everyone. And bye, Melissa.
Bye, everyone. Take care.